Most of you probably know bits about me, but I'll just run through my background, what brought me to Mastermind, etc. So, I first got involved in buy-to-let back in 1994. Became an accidental landlord. At the time, I was living in a one-bedroom flat. My wife became pregnant. We had a baby. Couldn't sell the flat, so decided to rent it out, and there I was, a landlord. That was it for the next 7 years. I was just self-managing that property, and didn't really think about buying any more properties. Didn't think I could buy any more properties, to be honest. Didn't think I had the means. And then I was watching a TV programme, and they were interviewing a landlord who had 40 or 50 properties up north. For those people that live up north, we're talking about Manchester, Liverpool area. When he was asked how he managed to build such a large portfolio, he explained that all he did was when there was some equity in the property, he would release that, and then with those funds go and buy another one. So that was my light bulb moment. We know that's called momentum investing. So I started momentum investing at that point, and I released the equity in that one-bedroom flat that I had, got 2 more, and continued to do that over the next few years. In 2007, we obviously had the property, the financial crisis. Excuse me. The financial crisis came along, and so at that point I stopped buying properties and just continued to manage the small portfolio that I had, and that really continued then. I've actually not bought any properties since then. I intended then to really focus my attention on my corporate career, which had gone quite well. I was a key player in the largest audiovisual company in Europe, and my job was to, so the company itself, we installed audiovisual facilities into big corporate offices for banks, solicitors, large corporations. A lot of those companies, we were doing projects all over Europe for banks like JP Morgan, those sort of companies. And my job there was to negotiate and deal with the major contracts. The last job that I finished on, which I was working on it for 2 or 3 years, was a project for UBS Bank, their new office down in Broadgate in the city, and that was a £13 million contract. So I was used to dealing with the sort of big numbers. I think it was largely through that project for UBS. It was quite draining, and I started to lose my mojo. I was obviously getting older. There were a lot of younger guys snapping at the heels that had a lot more energy than I did, and I started to really lose my mojo. And I wasn't really happy. The job that I'd enjoyed for years and years and years, I found it was pulling me down. So I thought, well, really I need to start doing something else as well. And I went back to property, and I thought, right, I'm going to start building up some more property and refocus a little bit more on that. I went on to Mastermind Accelerator with some of you guys on that one as well at the end of 2016. And after that weekend, I made the decision. There was 2 decisions. One was that I was going to get out of that race, and the other was that I was going to sign up for Mastermind 23. So that's what I did. Also during 2016, I went to my very first PIN meeting, and as you all know, PIN meetings, they have the prize draw, and on that first meeting I won that prize draw. And that was to attend a one-day workshop in London run by, which was all about serviced accommodation. So I went on that, and I really started to get excited about serviced accommodation. And I thought, right, I'm going to apply this to one of my properties. Did that, and it went great. So at that point, I sort of got hit by the serviced accommodation bug, or bitten by it, I should say. So having made that decision, also I was going to give up the corporate career. I started to read lots of books, magazines regarding property, because obviously I've been out of it for so long, I didn't know the strategies and what was going on. I started listening to a lot of podcasts, and in particular Progressive, if I can say that word. They had some very good podcasts at the time, and they were very much teaching people how to work on their business and not in it. And the secret, the key to doing that is to leverage your time. And the way you leverage your time is to put in place systems and gatekeepers. So the systems being apps that run on your phone or on your computer. Gatekeepers are the actual people. So anything that you don't have to do yourself, find somebody else to do it if their hourly rate is less than yours. And we all know that we've got quite high hourly rates. So that's really when I started to look at the various different ways I could leverage my time. I started to look at various different apps, and I've thrown up here just some of the apps that I'm using, and what they can do. I'm not going to talk about every single one, but Trello is a great application for setting to-do lists, especially if you're going to share these to-do lists with other people. You can sync your to-do lists together. They can report back to you via Trello. You can attach documents to your to-dos, so spreadsheets, links to websites, etc. It's very, very good. It sets an alarm as well if a to-do is not done by its due date. So that.
Can I just check with you that does exactly the same as Asana, just in case?
I don't believe it does.
Oh.
I don't use Asana, but I believe that Asana is more of a project management tool. Yeah, I think Wunderlist is very similar to Trello, but yeah, I think Asana has probably got its place somewhere else. If you're running a development project, then that is a good piece of project management software to allow you to track the tasks that have got to be done.
You use Trello, Richard?
I use Trello significantly. Yeah. Evernote. If you're used to using Notes or on OneDrive, I've forgotten what it's called now, but where you're just making notes and attaching files for yourself, Evernote is a very, very good application. It's also a very good key feature of that. If you go to PIN meetings and you're collecting business cards, Evernote, you just take a picture of the business card and it will scan in all the information and put it into text format, so you can put it into your contacts easily. In fact, what I do is I take pictures of, I go one stage further, I take pictures, I set out on the table all the business cards, I take a picture of that, and then I send it over to my VA and I let her do the work. Yeah. CRM systems, so there's loads of them out there. The trouble with CRM systems is a lot of them, they're very expensive, they're very powerful in what they will do, and most people, they find them too complicated, and they end up not using them. And you only actually need a very small percentage of all the facilities that are in there. So less annoying CRM is a very, very good one. It's much more basic. It's what it says on the tin. It is less annoying. It's very easy to use. It syncs with Google, so your contacts, emails, and diary will all sync up with.
Could you send a campaign? Could you tag your contacts in Less Annoying CRM to say this is a potential buyer of a deal,
Yes,
and then
yeah.
send to that list?
Within there. So within within your contacts, you can have different groups. So you can have an investor group. You can have trades, whatever, different groups, and then it also syncs to Mailchimp. It integrates with Mailchimp. So if you're doing email campaigns, then it all works seamlessly. So
Pricing wise, is it cheap too? Or?
yes,
Cheap.
very
Cheap.
cheap. It's there's no commitment. You're committed to it's month by month subscription. You can cancel at any time, and I think it's about £10 a month. Yeah.
Can I just say about Less Annoying? It's really great if it's just one business you have, just bear that in mind. Because if it's just on one website, shall I say, would you say, it's just one website, it's not multiple, because I'm just looking for ones that will accommodate multiple websites or businesses.
Well, I use mine. I've got too many businesses because I have limited companies for each different type of business activity, and I just have the one Less Annoying subscription. So there's everything in there.
Does it link to your website? That's what I mean.
I don't link it to my website. I don't need to.
Okay,
Yeah.
just that, because
So anybody that's doing serviced accommodation, it's really, if you've got, I would say, any more than one property, you really should have a channel manager. And a channel manager, what that does is it keeps, if you're on different platforms like Airbnb, Booking.com, then it keeps your diary in sync. That's the first thing. So when somebody makes a booking on Booking.com, it blocks it out on Airbnb, so you can't get double bookings happening. It also your channel manager will also send out automated emails. So as soon as somebody books, they'll get an email saying, "Thank you very much for your reservation. Here's a summary. Please check it that this is correct." It will notify cleaners, maybe maintenance if necessary. If somebody is doing the meet and greet service for you, it will notify them, so you don't have to do any of that.
So is that all through Less Annoying?
No, this I'm now on a channel manager.
Oh,
It's called a channel manager.
Okay.
Yeah, so Super Control, Keygo, and Video, they are all different channel managers. They all pretty much do the same thing.
Which one do you use?
I use Super Control, which is the smaller one of the lot. And in fact, I think you may have been there. There was a Service-Let Summit where they were comparing the various different channel managers, and they were comparing Keygo and Video mainly. And I was looking at the problems some of the people are experiencing with those particular channel managers, because at the time I was thinking maybe I should change. But at the end of that, I thought, no, actually, I'm going to stick with Super Control. It is the smaller one. The result of that is they have fantastic support. It's quite complicated to set up, so I actually got them to do it for me, leveraging my time again. So they did all that hard work. And if there's any problem at all, then it's straight on the phone, and they just talk me through on the phone. In fact, now my VA, she uses it all the time. She's an expert on Super Control. If I don't know how to do anything, I can ask her, or just get her to do it.
Leverage.
I've added on there also Promote My Place. So again, if you're in serviced accommodation and you want to have a website listing your properties where people can go and book, which is really essential to have your own website. Promote My Place is very, very good. They have a series of templates. You can brand it as you want. You can choose your colours. it actually syncs straight into Super Control as well, it's very, very cheap. I think it cost me about £100 or something to set up my website, or for somebody else to set my website up for me.
So it's not a channel manager.
Promote My Place is not a channel manager, it is a website
Okay.
development tool. Yeah.
Sounds perfect. Sorry, Richard. Have you used Kids?
No.
Because
Okay.
Kids has you can build your own website
Within Takit, yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And you get that for free within Takit. I'm just trying to, because we use it at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see how it works in comparison to
Yeah.
the other ones. What you expect.
Yeah, I know, I mean, Takit is another big, one of the big channel managers that are out there, very popular. I know it does have, again, it's one of those, it's got facilities that Super Control hasn't got. I think it's more money. There's nothing wrong with using 2 or 3 different applications, and in some way, if they all sort of work together, if they'll integrate, then that can be better. Because each of the applications are focused on what they're good at, rather than trying to be a jack of all trades.
Some of this defeat integrated Stripe as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, most of these do integrate with some kind of credit, debit card payment.
It was quite quick and easy to integrate.
There's funny Stripe. You just get something to plug into, and you've got the next day after. But if you can't, then you have to pay it.
We use Booking Sync. That's
Right.
quite good.
Yeah.
Very good indeed.
Payments through. It's been a bit tricky. Like you've had to take codes and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, Booking Sync's quite good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this, are all these systems more relatable to service accommodation?
Yeah.
Yes.
These are all just relating to service accommodation, yeah. But a lot of the others aren't. So yeah.
We've got, obviously we're doing rent to rent, our coach, so we actually bought a template off her, which actually was all perfect, with all the contents and everything we needed to get going, but we can see further down the line we're going to have to get a proper website like or something better, but then we would like to put our own rooms that we've got for rent on there as well.
Yeah.
Because we like to get a board outside the house and rooms to rent, it looks nice and everything, but
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if any of you guys know, or somebody in here that is a site that could enable us to do that without paying a design agency £5 to build it.
I don't know of anything specific. I use. Yeah, well, that's what I was going to come on to actually. You've had OpenRent, how simple. I actually use OpenRent, and with them, you stick it on there, and I'm sure the others are exactly the same. You stick it on there, it gets onto Zoopla, it gets onto Rightmove. Within OpenRent, it manages, as far as diaries and viewings and stuff like that. It will even. You can even do inventories and credit checks and everything else through it if you want. Again, I tend to use other systems to do all of that, but it's all there. I'll just come back up to this one though. So again, for people that are doing single lets or HMOs, you really need to have some tool to help manage your tenants and the actual properties and do welcome packs and all that sort of thing. I use Arthur Online. Well, actually, I use Arthur Online and Landlord Vision because they're slightly different. Arthur Online, that integrates with a lot of other software. It integrates directly into Xero, which is really good for accounting. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Landlord Vision, again the same. That doesn't integrate to Xero, but it has other great features. These apps, I'm just giving you some suggestions here. I think you need to actually go and look at the features and benefits of the various different ones to see what suits your business best. I'm not saying, you must go with that.
Just for some clarity, that's just specific for HMOs? Is that what you're talking about?
No, not just for HMOs. It's where for ASTs. properties where you're doing agencies. So it can be, it can be, it can be single lets as well. AccuDesk, great tool. So with AccuDesk, and that comes with Landlord Vision. It's a service desk tool. So your tenant will have an app on their phone. If they've got any problem, rather than ringing you, they just they raise a ticket on the AccuDesk app. That will then go out to you. It can go to your maintenance guys. It can go to your VA. Anybody that's necessary. It's a good way of tracking a service request, an issue, and making sure that things get actioned and you don't end up dropping the ball, because if you keep dropping the ball, you're going to lose your tenant. So again, serviced accommodation. These are the three big ones where you need to be marketing your property. Booking.com probably gives me, I would think, 70 to 80% of my bookings. The next is my own marketing, direct. Airbnb, people think Airbnb is where you're going to get all your bookings from. It's not. Good thing about Airbnb though is they're cheap. It's only a 3% commission rate as opposed to 15% on Booking.com.
You get much from HomeAway?
I've only just started on HomeAway.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a new one for me. But really you want to, certainly with Booking.com, you just want to use them as a hook. Because you do get the corporates that are booking on there, regular bookers. So use them as a hook, capture their email address, all their details, so that you can then just and then offer them a discount. Give them a 10% discount. It's better to give them 10% than Booking.com 15%. So on the accountancy side, Xero, as I said, that integrates directly into Arthur Online. These do have financial sections as well, so they will track payments coming in and out. But again, like I said earlier, it's best not to use with something that's more specialist. So I use Xero, QuickBooks, just like Xero, similar thing. Receipt Bank is great for expenses. Just scan the receipt in, it downloads invoices, etc., and logs all of those for you.
And it connects well with Xero as well.
Yeah, Receipt Bank integrates with Xero.
Send it up.
Is there an app for Receipt Bank?
Yes, it is.
You just buy the app from the App Store?
Yeah.
Monthly,
If you're using Xero, I think with mine I actually subscribe to it via Xero.
Can we just go back, sorry Richard?
Yeah.
One, because you haven't really touched on the UPAD and the open rent and how simple, because obviously it's when you're self-managing as a landlord. From your experience, have you used all three?
I've used Open Rent and How Simple. I haven't yet used UPAD, but I'm going to give them a try next time round, because I think they are now the bigger boys. But they are not a substitute for your management software. So when I use Open Rent, I purely use them to get tenants. I can stick the advert onto Open Rent. That will go onto Zoopla. It will go onto Rightmove. It will go onto Gumtree as well, which is actually where most of the inquiries I find come from. So again, that's the hook, and then from there I really take over. I don't use their referencing. We're going to talk about referencing in a minute. I don't get them to generate the AST. I use Landlord Vision to generate the AST. Viewings, yeah. So it's a good way. It is a good way to book your viewings via Open Rent, because the tenant or the potential tenant will get a text message in the morning just to remind them of the viewing, and so it cuts down the no-shows. Although it's probably good to have another system in place as well before you set off on a half-hour journey to say, "Are you still okay for 12 o'clock?"
Richard, do you use Zapier to link them all
Yeah,
together?
yeah. So Zapier, let's go to the next slide. So, yeah, Zapier it sits in between, so where you've got various different apps and they don't directly integrate with each other. Zapier is an in-between thing that will allow you to link apps together so that they will automatically populate the various different fields of information. I guess most of you are already using some kind of cloud drive to store documents, but you know, if you're not, then you need to, especially where you're sharing, sharing information, sharing documents. Whoever can have the log-on details, and you can sync your various different documents together on the computers. It's also good for backup as well. So I use all of these apart from Google Drive actually. Yeah. The reason I don't like use Google Drive, what I don't like about it is that it opens up the document in your web browser, and I like to actually, if I'm working on an Excel document, I want to work on it in Excel rather than web browser. So you know, with the others, you don't have to start doing conversions and things like that. You just click on the document, it will open it up in its native app, and you can work on it from there. Text Local and Fast SMS, so they're great, especially if you're doing bulk text messages and if you've got a VA in place. So one of my processes, every Monday morning, my VA goes on to Rightmove, goes on to, well actually the main one she does this on is spareroom.com. She goes on to spareroom.com, she looks for any new rooms that are being advertised, and then she sends out a text we use Text Local. Out goes a text from her just saying, we're fellow landlords, we've seen your advert, would you be interested in a long-term agreement? We could rent your property for 3 to 5 years. If you're interested, please call this number. So we get that's actually probably our best source of leads, I would think. And if you're sending out bulk text messages, you just do the one text message. You've got an Excel spreadsheet, I think it works on, of all the people, so you can pull that information off your CRM, and then that's it. Hit the button and it sends the same text out to everybody. Tenant referencing, critical. I really would suggest that you don't do this yourself. For about £15, there are online services which will do the referencing for you. The way my system is set up, if a tenant says that they want to take the property, then we send them a link to an online document, and all that does is capture their name, address, email, property they're interested in, very, very basic high-level stuff. From that, we used advanced tenant referencing. Like I say, it's about £15–16 per reference. That form goes to them, they pick it up from there, they then do all the credit checks, bank details, employer's details, all of that sort of stuff. And provided their employer or their references, they will return quickly. You've got your report within about 24 hours, something like that.
And you pass on the cost of the tenant in terms of the referencing costs?
No, I don't. And the reason I don't do that is I think it's a small amount, and it's a good thing to start off on the right foot with your tenant. You're not a money-grabbing landlord. Be prepared to do that. What I actually do is I take £100 from them. If they say they want the property, I take £100, and then that's deducted off their first month's rent.
They do take off the property.
Yeah. So you've got some kind of commitment from them. We talked a little bit about Stripe. So with most of these apps, your management software, your channel manager, they will integrate to some kind of payment system. So GoCardless it allows you to set up direct debits. that is a great way of reducing reducing the arrears with tenants to have a direct debit facility so that all money gets automatically taken. Stripe, I also use holiday rent payments, I think they're called, for taking credit card, debit card payments online, and WorldPay again, similar service. So talk about
with the GoCard, Stripe and WorldPay, do you pay a subscription or do you just get charged percentage on your?
percentage. Yeah, I can't remember what it is, but it's not a lot.
1.5% on Stripe? It's not a lot.
I have somebody that knows that.
Stripe's very useful.
And can I just say, it's all free to set
It
up.
works out to be about 1.45.
If it's a credit card, it's more, but it's a debit card, it's less.
Right.
But with WorldPay, do you not pay every month?
As I say, I have somebody that does
I've
that.
got one in my studio.
I don't worry about the details. So, yeah, type form, as I said, so that's an online form. I think it's free if you've got no more than 10 questions or something like that. If you want to ask more, then you pay. So you only really need 10 questions. So I use that to capture, immediate information. And then when you've got contracts and agreements that need to be signed, Signable and DocuSign, they're two great online facilities. So you can send your AST out via one of those services. The tenant can sign it online. It could be an investor, whatever the contract is. They can sign it online, and it's all legally binding. So yeah, it saves having to post stuff out and wait a few days.
Type form, is that when you have specific questions to ask the tenants, and then you kind of like, okay.
Yeah, you probably all used these
To
before
filter.
when you perhaps are logging on to somebody's website. You maybe want to book an event or something like that, and you get this online form with which you need to populate with various different bits of information. That's what it is. That's what the tenant will get. So you're just capturing things like name, telephone number, address, email address, what property they want, are they looking now, that sort of basic stuff.
Have you got that going straight into your CRM?
No.
So can you then? Because that would be the whole point.
For I would imagine the answer is yes.
You can with Codia.
Yeah. It does depend on which CRM you're using.
Yeah, because you want to integrate the capital.
My tenants, I don't actually store the information, my tenant information in my CRM. I store that in my property management software. So depending on which property, it will either be Arthur or Landlord Vision.
Okay.